Welcome back. All right, well, I think you can see that one of the themes in this play revolves around persuasion. We've talked about that. That theme just keeps coming up. The fickleness of people's loyalties, you know, they just switch from one idea to the next. It seems very easily, how easily persuaded flattery and superstition and ego play into changing someone's mind. So in Act 3, you're going to see kind of the culmination of that. Before we go there, let's just really quickly look through. You just had a moment to take a look at Brutus's soliloquy in Act 2, Scene 1. Every student response is going to be different. So however you were able to translate this into modern language, so long as you got the main ideas, it doesn't have to be exactly like mine. But if I were to translate this into modern English, I would say something like this. Caesar must be killed. I don't have anything against him personally. It's all about Rome. He wants to be king, and that might change him. We just don't know. We don't have to be careful of snakes until the heat of the day, and if Caesar's crowned king, we may give him the power that makes him dangerous. Power without conscience is what makes tyrants. Truly, I've never known Caesar to get emotional or carried away, but everyone knows someone who's really ambitious might act humble as he climbs the ladder of success, and then turn away from that humility. Instead of acknowledging how he got there, he will just ignore his past and pay attention to his new position. Caesar might do that, and if he might, we must prevent him. I have to think of it this way. As proud as he is, if that pride grows even more, we know that won't end well. So I must think of him like a snake's egg. If I let it hatch, it will be dangerous. So I must kill him before it hatches. Okay. Then the key thing about this is to look on the back. What does he say? I don't really have anything against Caesar personally, but I have to kill him. Snakes are only dangerous when they come out in the open, and if we crown him, that might make Caesar dangerous in that same way. Brutus has never really let his emotions rule over his mind, but it could. He could. Everyone knows humility can turn to pride once someone arrives at success. Better to kill the snake before it hatches from the egg and is dangerous. And then the letter. Rome needs me to save it from Caesar. So the question is, in your mind, does this add up to a good decision? Is this a good decision on Brutus's part? I think it's really important to recognize Brutus doesn't have any way of knowing what's going to happen. He's trying to prevent what he's afraid might occur, without actually having any way of knowing if it's going to. So what kind of a decision was that? Right? We can't. This is why, this actually pertains to United States policy against first strikes. In our country, we don't commit what are called first strike actions against countries. Militarily, we wait for them to attack us before we will attack them, or if there's an imminent attack, we will take out that imminent attack. But we have a military policy that we never commit a first strike against an enemy because we never really are able to justify that we know what they're going to do. So think about that. All right, in Act 3, you're going to see in Scene 1, the soothsayer again warns Caesar, and Artemidorus handing Caesar the warning note, and Caesar is not going to heed either the men or their messages. It pays to think, why does Shakespeare warn Caesar in so many different ways? What does that reflect? So think about that for next week. We are going to see the conspirators all gather around Caesar. They're pretending to plead with him about the brother of Metellus Cimber, that Caesar should allow him back in Rome, that he should pardon him. But what that really does is it's a ruse to allow them all to gather very closely around Caesar, so that once Casca strikes with the first wound, he pulls out his dagger and strikes with the first wound, the others all follow, stabbing Caesar multiple times. And so that's in Scene 1, you're going to see the death of Caesar. Pandemonium erupts among the public. Brutus believes, though, that they will support the assassination once he has a chance to explain that they did this for the good of Rome. So, the tyrant is dead, and long, live the Roman Republic. At that moment, Mark Antony comes in. He sees the conspirators talking. He sees dead Caesar. He makes a promise to Brutus, but then after everybody leaves, he makes a promise to Caesar. Compare those promises as you look through scene 1. Then scene 2. Scene 2 is the most famous scene in Julius Caesar. In fact, I'm going to have you watch it as part of your homework because we're going to be discussing the 2 speeches. You're going to just watch the 2 speeches out of Act 2. Brutus is going to get up and make a speech to the crowd explaining his side, that he loved Caesar. He had to kill him for the good of Rome. And then you're going to see Antony enter with Caesar's body, and you're going to see Antony technically keep the promises he made to Brutus, but turn everything on its head through his speech. And then in scene 3, it's a very short scene where there's a riot, and the rioting crowd is going to seek the conspirators, but they stumble across a poet who is unfortunately named Cinna, much as one of the conspirators is named Cinna. And there's a little confusion, and then there's a little bit of tragedy. So the action scenes are going to unfold easily. You're not going to have any trouble understanding scene 1. You're not going to have any trouble understanding scene 3. Scene 2 might be a little more difficult to follow because first Brutus and then Antony make their kind of competing funeral speeches, and that's one of the reasons I'm going to let you take a look at those scenes as part of your homework this week. Hopefully you're getting a little bit more used to the language and the style at this point. We are going to introduce the idea of rhetorical persuasion next week. We're going to talk about the 3 types of persuasion as Aristotle, the great philosopher, explained to us. Ethos, believe me because of who I am. Logos, I can explain and prove logically why you should believe me. And pathos, I'm going to touch your heart emotionally to show you why you should believe me. So we're going to look at those 3 in a little more depth next week as it regards these 2 speeches. But for this week, as you read through them, pay attention. Mark those speeches up. What do you notice about the difference between Brutus's appeal and Antony's appeal? Okay. Use the tool of No Fear Shakespeare if you are struggling. Read it in the original, though, to get the language and the all the benefit possible. So next week, we're going to walk through Act 3 to make sure you understand what amazing manipulation is going on a grand scale. Okay? So have a great week, and I will meet you back here in the Red Couch Reading Room to keep going through Julius Caesar.